Welcome back to the Guardian Project podcast. This is episode 125. I'm your host, Andy. And just like Dorothea, if you take me out in a game of Commander, I too will be a vengeful victim.
Ah, from the grave? You're going to be a vengeful victim?
Yeah, sitting there watching you all enjoy the rest of the game that I got taken out of.
Make sure you point out every mistrigger that the person who killed you has. I'm sorry, your mana crypt is going to lightning bolt you in the face. And I'm your other host, Mike, and Crimson Vow spoilers have been trickling out, and everyone seems pretty impressed by some of these cards. Personally, I think it sucks.
Blood?
Because of vampires.
Yes, I got it. And this is the podcast where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering.
But mostly Commander.
How was your Halloween?
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, so you passed out candy. So we don't get trick-or-treaters at our house. So I live on a main road. So this year we turned our lights off. What did we even do for dinner? We didn't do, I think we did pizza.
Spooky.
Spooky pizza.
Do they have like ghost-shaped pizzas or pumpkin-shaped pizzas?
No, we just...
Because like Jets has heart-shaped pizzas for Valentine's Day, so
we only do the deep dish. So Detroit-style pizza or
Fair.
bust. I don't want round pizza unless I'm going to... There's a place called Alibi here in Detroit.
Oh.
That place is really good, but otherwise, it's just square pizza.
If you like Costco pizza, Alibi pizza, in our opinion, is a better version of that.
Do you say Costco?
Costco. It's where the costs go. That's what I think the slogan is, right?
I say Costco.
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 I don't know. It's I think it's Cost Company, right?
I think it is, but I
know.
just call it Costco. So how many kids did you have?
We had like 15, 20 kids probably that came by. We set up a little thing at the end of the driveway, and trick-or-treating starts at like 6 o'clock here. So about 7 o'clock it started to rain. All the kids ran home. 10 minutes later, the rain stopped. No one came back outside.
And you also sent us pictures of the candy that was left when you went shopping. And I believe it was Payday, Mounds, and Almond Joys. And you had to go to a different store.
Yeah. The only ones left. I didn't take a picture across the aisle was the fruity Tootsie Roll things.
Oh, those are good, though.
Which we bought 2 bags
Much
of
better than regular Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah, it was like 2 for $5. So those didn't get returned to Target. That bag stayed at home. But I dressed up as a sandworm. So my house was a 7 mana enchantment that creates a 5/5 worm at the end of every turn.
And flying creatures can attack you.
Right, because it was converging on my house via sandworms.
So we had a Halloween party, and we went to that on Saturday. You were there, and I just thought of it, but I went as Ragavan.
Ah, yes, you did go as Ragavan.
I couldn't find a costume, so thank you, Spirit Halloween. 4 hours before a party for a monkey ears headband. And a clip-on monkey tail. That was what I wore.
That'd have been cool if Nick came as a pirate and you didn't plan it.
And we didn't plan it.
Kari Zevin, Ravagan. Kari Zevin, you know, that red monkey that's doing work in Modern right now.
Or Sarah McLachlan. No, not Sarah McLachlan. What's the other one, though? I always say Captain Lannery Storm looks like.
Alanis Morissette.
Mm-hmm. And I would have gone as a monkey, and we would have said Captain Lannery Storm Ragavan.
That's wonderful.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Before we continue, we have to thank all of our patrons and all of our listeners. If you want to support us, you can head to patreon.com/GuardianProjectPod and donate for any dollar amount. We have lots of cool stuff to give away.
Yeah, really cool benefits, including, spoiler, today's episode. And if you're looking for another way to support the podcast, whatever platform you are enjoying the podcast on, if you could subscribe, rate, review, and leave comments, we would really appreciate it.
You can find us online at theguardianprojectpodcast.com. You can find our social media on Twitter at GuardianPod, our gameplay videos at youtube.com/theguardianproject. And you can email us at guardianprojectpod@gmail.com. Coyle, what is on the agenda today?
As I mentioned a couple of seconds ago, as one of our rewards for a certain level of Patreon tier that we have, we do deck techs for our patrons as full episodes. And today we are going to talk about one of our patrons, DracoLucian's 5-color Esika God of the Tree deck. More focused around the Prismatic Bridge side of it, but it's actually more focused around a few different things that we're going to get into.
Let's get totally random with some Praters. So we're talking about an Esika God of the Tree and the Prismatic bridge brew that includes some Praters. Tell us about this deck, Coyle.
Yeah, so a lot of the times when we go about these patron deck techs, we reach out to our patron. We ask them if they have a primer or something like that. We got pretty lucky this time.
We did.
There's an entire article.
There is, and it'll be linked below in the show notes. Go give it a read.
Right. So we are not going to reread this article to you from Draco, but we highly recommend you go check it out. Really good article. First article they've ever written. So definitely you want to check that out. So we will not be reading it, like I said, verbatim. But we are going to be taking a lot of our notes from there, and then we're going to be adding on some of our own things. So the deck is actually themed around a Planeswalker more than it is around the commander itself. And this Planeswalker is mono red. It's considered the worst Planeswalker in Magic's entire history, and that is Tibalt the Fiend-Blooded. So Tibalt the Fiend-Blooded is a 2-mana Planeswalker, red, starts with 2 loyalty counters, has a +1 to draw a card, then discard a card at random. A -4, it says Tibalt deals damage equal to the number of cards in target player's hand to that player. Or number 6, gain control of all creatures until end of turn. Untap, they gain haste until end of turn. No big deal, just insurrect.
So the deck is just going to play some very random strategies here, which is specifically what we're focusing on.
Yes, it's that first ability of the random discard from your hand, which... if you're wondering why Tibalt is considered the worst Planeswalker in existence, or it starts with 2 loyalty, so you can't activate the -4 or the -6. You must activate the +1. We even know in Mono Red October, this Tibalt is a requirement to put in your deck. And when it's on the battlefield, when it's in your hand, you must cast it. When it's on the battlefield, you must +1 it unless you can insurrect with it. And that is supposed to make your deck worse. So we know from our history, yes, Tibalt the Fiend-Blooded, but how do we make it good? So how can this Planeswalker even be bad? I mean, it's got insurrection, right? On the end of it. So we're going to cheat out creatures from our graveyard, mostly. And hopefully we are discarding these creatures from our hand randomly using Tibalt ability or mirroring Tibalt's ability.
Mirroring Tibalt's ability. So the commander is Esika, God of the Tree, a 3-mana, so 1 and 2 green. You get a 1/4 legendary god with vigilance. It taps to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool and has other legendary creatures you control have vigilance. And then the flip side is an enchantment, the Prismatic Bridge. For white, blue, black, red, green, you get a legendary enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card or planeswalker. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. You got random there.
It's a random order at the bottom.
We love random.
And no one's paying attention at the bottom of their library unless they're playing a Grenzo deck anyway. So
exactly. So although Esika may not be relevant, all of the creatures in the deck are legendary. That is the second ability. So the main attraction here, though, is the Prismatic Bridge. It's our first way to cheat things out onto the battlefield, taking whatever the top creature is that we find, or Tibalt the Fiend-Blooded, which is the only planeswalker in the deck. Outside of that, you've got 26 possible legendary creatures to hit with a wide variety of abilities and payoffs. And we'll be going through a lot of them.
For sure. So, and we mentioned that that graveyard reanimation was going to be our main strategy of getting these things back because we're going to be discarding them. But obviously the first one, the commander, getting it straight out of the library, not having to deal with the drawing and discard is definitely a great way to start it off. But again, we want to fill the graveyard and we want to reanimate things from the graveyard eventually. So let's talk about how we're going to fill the graveyard first. So there is some cards that I actually really like playing. A commander that I used to own, it's kind of in shambles right now, is Zerzoff Chaos Rider. So Zerzoff is our first legendary creature in this list. For 3 mana, you get a legendary creature Devil, 2 power, 3 toughness. This is whenever an opponent draws their first card each turn. If it's not their turn, you create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And whenever 1 or more devils you control attack 1 or more players, you and those players each draw a card, then discard a card at random. So this is symmetrical draw and discard. So you're going to make your opponents discard randomly as well as yourself, which can throw your opponents off. It can upset your opponents, though. And there's actually a sorcerer here that's going to do it even more, and that's Burning Inquiry. For 1 red, he says each player draws 3 cards, then discards 3 cards at random. So it's these cards do kind of feel bad when people discard some of the really important stuff, or maybe they discarded the only land they had in their hand or something like that.
We have experience with this. You have a Zerzoff Chaos Rider deck, and although you don't mind discarding, in most instances, losing of the 6 cards you may have in your hand, losing the one land or the only card that was going to get you out of whatever situation, it does in fact feel bad. I can attest.
Yes, I know. I actually played a modern deck that used Burning Inquiry in it. It was a lightning skelemental, very niche modern deck I was playing for a little while. But just casting Burning Inquiry on turn 1 and someone discards every single land that they had in their hand, feels good.
Feels good for you
in a 1v1.
Bad for them.
Yeah.
But we have experience, so we get to play with some random stuff here.
Yes, and now there's also much more built in here for just simply self discard. So Goblin Lore, Control of the Court, Gallia of the Endless Dance, and Desperate Ravings are all going to do random discard. I especially like Desperate Ravings here because it has flashback and you can do it more than once. I know Gallia of the Endless Dance we'll talk about in a second, which you can also do more than once, but it takes a little bit to set up. So Desperate Ravings is a 2 mana instant for 1 and a red that says draw 2 cards, then discard a card at random, and you can flash it back for 2 and a blue.
Yeah.
So you want to discard 2 cards, and it's not a card in your hand that you're casting when you cast it from your graveyard, so it's going to be just straight up card advantage for you.
Yeah, Gallia of the Endless Dance is a 2/2 satyr for a red and a green with haste. It says other satyrs you control get +1/+1 and have haste. It's not really relevant here, but it says whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may discard a card at random. If you do, draw 2 cards. So we don't mind discarding here. We get some card advantage.
Yeah, and we're swinging with creatures while we're doing it, so we're going to be doing some damage. Goblin Lore is another card that's played actually in Modern in the I can't even remember the golem's name from Amonkhet that costs less for each card you've discarded. Hallowed One decks. So Goblin Lore for the longest time was actually getting pretty expensive because of its single printing. It was reprinted both on the list and reprinted in in Jumpstart. So reprinted Jumpstart in some of the Goblins decks. So Goblin Lore is 2 mana, 1 and a red sorcery. It says draw 4 cards and put them in your hand, then discard 3 cards at random from your hand. Draw 4, discard 3. What more could you ask for?
Control the Court does the same for a sorcery, 1 and a red. It's just really old from Portal 3 Kingdoms. It says draw 4 cards and put them into your hand, then discard 3 cards at random from your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, we can go even further with the discard. Drastic Revelation is one of the most unique cards I've ever seen.
I had never heard of it. And it's a Grixis card.
It is. So 2, a blue, a black, and a red for a sorcery that says discard your hand. Then you get to draw 7 cards and then discard 3 cards at random. So you could be discarding like 15 cards in a turn or something if you start with a really big hand at the beginning. But yeah, you're definitely going to be filling your graveyard. Maybe your hand just doesn't have any fuel in it left anymore, and you're just, I get to pitch it and I get a brand new 4. That's the way you should be looking at this card. You're getting a brand new 4 cards. You're going to see 7 of them, and 3 are going in your graveyard.
Yeah. We also have some self-mill with Atreus, Oracle of Half-Truths, Gyruda, Doom of Depth, and Sir Conrad the Grim also mill your opponents. So we can take advantage of these. So Atreus, Oracle of Half-Truths is a 3/2 human advisor for 2, a blue and a black with menace. It says when it enters the battlefield, target opponent looks at the top 3 cards of your library, separates them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put one of them into your hand, the other into your graveyard. This is one of those cool bluffing commanders, which you had at one point. Too hard to do over Spell Table, which is I know why it was disassembled.
Yep.
But now that we're getting back to in-store play, I wouldn't mind seeing your Atreus deck again, because this is one of those decks where you can bluff it and you put 1 really good card face up and 2 face down. You hope that they think that the 2 face down are better when they're just lands. Mm-hmm. Or you put a land face up and you're like, hopefully they go for the land.
Right.
I don't know.
So the big problem I think people have playing Atreus decks is they do go through that gymnastics when really the Atreus players goes, either I'm going to cast it from my hand or I'm going to reanimate from the graveyard. I don't care where it goes.
I just want 2 cards. I just want 2. I mean, that's the truth.
It really is. It really is. So another card we have on here, Sir Conrad the Grim. I really, really like. 5 mana human knight, 3 black. You get a 5/4. It says whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere. Sorry, I lost my place.
Or a creature card leaves the graveyard, because this is literally a wall of text.
Yeah.
It deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Yeah, and the self mill comes from the activated ability of 1 and a black to have each player mill a card. So not
have
just
you ever seen
everybody.
Sir Conrad activate that ability?
Oh, yes.
I have never.
Yes.
I've only seen like a Bajuka Bog or or they mill themselves for a ton. I've literally never seen this activated.
So it's nice. So it was in a Sir Conrad specific deck, and the person got Sir Conrad out, and then the next turn they had 6 mana, so they were able to resolve a Mind Crank and then activate him twice, which activated him like 100 million billion times because Mind Crank is crazy with Sir Conrad, which is not in this deck. So Sir Conrad's really here to mill stuff of yourself and your opponents. Again, milling your opponent's creatures with these cards is a benefit because, as we'll talk about later, the reanimation spells we have don't just look at our own graveyards.
Right. And we've got Garuda Doom of Depths, a 6/6 Demon Kraken for 4, and then 2 hybrid blue-black. It says, when it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. You put a creature with an even converted mana cost from among any of those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So you might have something good, but they might have something better.
They might. This deck has 26 legendary creatures in it, though. So it's some good stuff. You can only hit 13 of them. Because 13 of them are even CMC besides Garuda. So there's 14 even CMC creatures total. Obviously, Garuda can't hit itself. So 13 of your own creatures are going to be able to be hit. Maybe they'll be there. Maybe they won't. Hopefully, if you don't hit something, that one of your opponents do. But yeah, no, really like the Garuda card here. And it fits the theme literally perfectly. So now that we have all of these cards milled, everything's in the graveyard. We're going to start bringing it back.
Let's get it back now. Take it back now, y'all.
And we just talked about how some of the reanimation spells we want to focus on aren't just for our own graveyard, but other people's graveyards as well. So the most obvious one, the one that people know about, is Reanimate. Reanimate costs 1 black mana. It's a sorcery that says put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value.
It's great.
1 mana reanimation spell.
Now let's look at the one that costs 5 and has a hoop you have to jump through.
Yeah,
so
sure does.
I like this one a lot as well. Yawgmoth Vile Offering. It costs 4 and a black for a legendary sorcery. You can only cast this if you control a legendary creature or a planeswalker. So we've got plenty of legendary creatures, and we do have 1 planeswalker. And it says put up to 1 target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard, any graveyard, onto the battlefield under your control. Destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker, and then you exile Yawgmoth's Vile Offering.
I really like this card.
I do too.
I know it costs 5, but it's a removal spell and a reanimation spell. It's hard to cast because of the sorcery caveat, but it can hit planeswalkers too.
Now, my favorite reanimate spell that is in this is Victimize. So 2 and a black. For a sorcery, choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard, sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. Yes, please.
Yeah, you get 2. Why not?
We haven't even gotten to all the legendary creatures, and there's so many good ones in here. You bring 2 of them back, you can change the entire course of the rest of the game.
For sure.
Especially because we know we're cheating huge things with massive abilities in.
Absolutely. Now, when I was looking at Victimize in this list, my first thought was, when I'm playing a 5-color reanimation or good stuff deck or something, a majority of the stuff that I'm trying to get out is really high mana value. Victimize requires you to sacrifice a creature. You do have Esika that only costs 3 mana to get out that you could sacrifice, and maybe sacrificing her is going to be a good thing because you're going to get the bridge out later. But there are a lot of creatures here that are actually low on the converted mana cost, on the mana value rank that you are going to have out there before you start filling your graveyard and you Victimize. So don't worry about that. There's a lot of creatures here at the 2 and 3 CMC slot that will be available for you to sacrifice. That being said, my favorite reanimation spell in this whole deck is a legendary creature. It's a white legendary creature too, called Kenrith the Returned King. I don't know if you've heard of him before, Kenrith the Returned King.
I have, and I don't think I've said very many nice things about Kenrith on this podcast.
Probably none.
I might have said it was cool at one point. And I wish it was still all the abilities. No, I like having 5 things to do with your commander.
Yeah, and we're talking about Kenrith here as a reanimation spell. So Kenrith is a 5 mana human noble, so 4 and a white. You get a 5/5. Already has great stats.
That's
so 5/5 for 5.
Yeah,
amazing. Has 5 activatable abilities. You can pay 1 red to have all creatures gain trample and haste until end of turn. 1 and a green to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. 2 and a white to have target player gain 5 life. 3 and a blue to have target player draw a card, or 4 and a black to put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is repeatable reanimation. For 5 mana, you can do it as many times as you want. You can do it at instant speed. If you want to bring something back to your own battlefield, you do have to choose a creature in your own graveyard.
You do.
You can bring back creatures.
You can play politics here.
You can.
That's what Conrad does.
Or in my favorite thing ever, if you ever find someone with a Phage the Untouchable in their graveyard, just reanimate it for them so they lose the game. That's my favorite.
My favorite is pay 3 and a blue and draw a card.
Well, there's that. That's pretty good. And then we're not even talking about those abilities here. Kenrith is here for its reanimation, but if Kenrith sticks and you have the mana, Kenrith is just a house, an absolute house.
I also like that we have a historic sub theme as well, right? So we're dealing with legendary creatures, but we do have some historic spells here with some artifacts. Tashar, Ancestor's Apostle, is a 2/2 bird cleric for 3 and a white with flying that says whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. We have quite a few creatures with mana value less than or 3 or less.
Yeah, tons of them. And they're going to be out there to help actually protect our board and our board state by sacrificing themselves. In fact, so Safi Eriksdotter and Linvala, Shield of Seagate, are the two main creatures that we're looking at that do kind of combo with Tashar pretty well. So Linvala, Shield of Seagate is 1 a white and a blue for a legendary creature, Angel Wizard, 3/3 with flying. This is the beginning of combat on your turn. If you have a full party, choose target non-land permanent an opponent controls. Until your next turn, it can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. I'm going to be honest, I did not go through creature types to determine if turning on a full party is even possible in here or how easy it is, but the second ability is really where Linvala shines in this deck, where you can sacrifice Linvala and choose hexproof or indestructible, and creatures you control gain that ability until end of turn. So
we've seen a Linvala deck. We've had Lenny Woolley actually has a Linvala Shield of Seagate deck in it. The indestructible is really good.
Oh yeah,
against a board wipe. Oops.
Or your own board wipe or something too. I mean,
I like the hexproof is so good too.
Mm-hmm. If there's any way that you could have like 2 of them out there and then sacrifice both so they get hexproof and indestructible.
Yeah, but we've got 10 targets under at 3 or less. So Tashar is going to be able to bring back quite a few of these creatures.
Awesome. Yeah, so I liked seeing Tashar in the 99. A lot of people talk about Tashar as like that fringe mono white CEDH combo thing, and we see some of the combos here, which is cool to see in the 99. So we already kind of started talking about the creatures. I think we should keep talking about these creatures. So there is another theme outside of Tibalt. We alluded to it as we introduced the deck a little bit, and that alternate theme is Praters. That's right. We're playing with all 5 of them, but there's 6 cards, even though there's only 5 Praters. 5 of the legendary Praters. I guess I don't know. Are the little ones are like the people who follow the...
No, they're Phyrexians.
Oh, okay.
But they're not...
What if they're not from Phyrexia? It's just whatever plane they're from. They don't lose who they are. They just now follow the
They
Phyrexians.
are their own person. They are their own person. They just like these Praters. And let's start with the best of all of them.
Wait, which one is the best of all of them?
It's Jin Cataxia's Core Auger. Okay, everyone. It's my favorite. It's the best. It's a 5/4 legendary Prater for 8 blue. It's 10 mana. I mean, I'm glad the abilities. I'm paying 10. I should be able to wreck your face if I'm paying 10.
In this deck, you might be paying 1 in 10 life.
Throwing it away. Exactly. So it has Flash. It has, at the beginning of your end step, draw 7 cards. And it says each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. I mean,
it's wonderful.
It's not that bad.
It's great.
I love it.
There was a card that got spoiled that we were talking about on the discard that reduces your hand size by 3. So if someone has a Jin Cataxias out, an opponent, and you have that card that's reducing it by 3, you actually have to mill 3 cards at your cleanup step.
Yours is
after
reduced by
discarding
10.
your hand.
It's reduced by 10.
Exactly.
That's funny. So let's talk about some more of these Praters after the best one.
Okay. Well, let's talk about everyone's least favorite one then.
Vorinclex?
I wasn't actually going to say Vorinclex. I was going to say Elishnorn Grand Cenobite.
Okay. I'm sending all my positive thoughts out to our token players.
Yeah, exactly.
Token players, cries and token player.
Or any legendary creature that's 1 toughness or less. Or 2
I like that we
less.
have already had a difference of opinion on our least favorite Prater. That's what's so funny about these
I thought
Praters.
yours was your most favorite Prater. That's what you... Oh, your least favorite Vorinclex.
Least favorite was, I think,
I got you.
Vorinclex.
Wait, which one, though? We'll get to that. Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. For 7 mana, 5 white. You get a 4/7 Prater with Vigilance. That says other creatures you control get +2/+2, and creatures your opponents control get -2/-2.
It costs 7 mana. I'm glad it has big abilities.
Yeah. I mean, all the Praters do, right? All the Praters are going to be super high CMC.
Some would argue one of the
value.
Praters does not have as an impact on the game, as an it's not as impactful as the rest.
And it is, if I'm guessing correctly, also the lowest mana value of all of the Praters.
It is.
Yes.
It is. Let's jump over to Urabrask the Hidden. A 4/4 for 3 red that says creatures you control have haste. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Also wonderful.
Great.
5 mana. I play Urabrask in a few decks, actually. It's my haste enabler of choice next to maybe Rhythm of the Wild. And I know we have some suggestions later, but people will play with the card Anger and having a mountain. Urabrask, top tier.
Yeah. Urabrask, a lot of these haste enablers that we talk about putting in our decks are like multiple colors and stuff. Like that, like our enchantment from our Guilds of Ravnica cassette. It's green and red, so it's a little bit harder to get to, but enchantments are a lot harder to remove than creatures, so it is cool to see. But Urabrask, being a creature in this deck might be a benefit because there's so much reanimation and stuff. So even if they remove your haste enabler, hopefully you'll be able to get it right back.
Just don't exile them. Please just kill our creatures. Don't exile creatures.
Never exile unless it's Squee. You can exile.
Okay, you can exile the original Squee, or I guess both.
Yeah. Is it both?
Is it both?
I don't even
New
remember
Squee
anymore.
I don't know.
Squee. Okay.
Squee's not in the deck.
Let's talk about my favorite Prater. My absolute favorite Prater. I mean, this is obvious. It's mono black, and it's Shieldred Whispering one for 7 mana. It's one of the meaner ones. I guess they're all pretty mean.
They're all pretty mean.
Shieldred Whispering one for 7 mana, 5 black. You get a 6/6 Prater with Swamp Walk. Which means it can't be blocked if someone controls a swamp or if you control Urborg, just letting you know. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Reanimation
target.
Wonderful.
Right there.
And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. We got removal. It's really not targeted removal. It's just an edict, but it's over and over.
But if I'm playing a deck where I only have 2 or 3, it's bad.
Oh yeah.
And usually, if I only have 2 or 3, I don't want to lose any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to lose any. Shieldred is very strong. It is. I think all of these are. They're lightning rods. They just draw the removal immediately. Warranted.
Sure.
Warranted.
Now the thing about lightning rods, lightning isn't supposed to strike the same place twice, but I guess lightning rods probably get struck a lot. I was going to say there's 6 Praters. The chances that lightning strikes 6 times in the same place might not be very good.
Your battlefield is where the lightning is striking.
Yeah, but
so it does. It's possible actually lightning strikes probably a lot.
In Commander, you can only have a total of 4 lightning bolts unless someone's copying spells or something.
Oh, chain lightning.
Oh, you got me.
So my least favorite is Vorinclex Voice of Hunger. It's actually, this one is it's difficult because when you're playing it, it does feel really great. But I also do feel bad. It's one of those, I don't run it. I run it in one deck. I don't run it in a lot of decks.
I bet this one is the most played Prater of all of them, though.
You think? So it's a 7/6 with Trample. It costs 6 green. And it says, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. And whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during its next untap step. So your opponents are exerting their lands.
Mm-hmm.
You rest now, my dear plains or my dear island. It's rough.
Yeah.
And it usually gets removed the first time around the table, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels bad when you're the second person who needs to continue to progress in the game and then the next person removes it by tapping maybe 1 mana.
Mm-hmm.
It's best when you're the third person in the round.
Right.
And I frequently find myself being the next person in line and going, wow, I feel like only I got screwed. That felt bad.
And it does feel that way, especially the way Vorinclex is worded, it's not as long as Vorinclex stays on the battlefield, it is a delayed it's not even a trigger, it's just it produces a state for the land that says it doesn't untap. So even when Voraclex gets removed, your land still doesn't untap the next time it was supposed to. So.
But they wanted to, maybe redeem Vorinclex's negative, or I guess everyone's opinion of it. So we have a second Vorinclex.
Yeah, so everyone can get a second opinion of Vorinclex. A very, very different Vorinclex.
Very different and very much received, I think, positive response.
Yeah.
So this is a 6/6 Phyrexian Prater. It costs 4 green. It has trample and haste. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. And if an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, you put half that many. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Now, Tibalt can come in with 4 counters on it.
And then you don't have to activate the +1, which you're trying to do the entire game, but you don't have to.
I mean, if you want to get to 6, you do.
That's true.
This deck definitely wants the insurrection.
Yeah, I would say there's probably very niche situations where like you slam an Elish Norn and no one has creatures left, but that's about it. That's the only thing I could think. I mean, there's a couple board wipes in here that we'll talk about too, but yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's never a bad insurrection. I don't think. I can't think of one. But anyway, those are the Praters.
And we have a few more creatures that help us to draw cards with the legendary sub-theme as well. So we have Reiki, the History of Kamigawa, a 1/2 human shaman for 2 and a green. Whenever you play a legendary spell, draw a card.
Yeah. Joyra, Weatherlight Captain, which is doing something very similar, but in the historic spells. So for 4 mana, 2, a blue, and a black, you get a Human Artificer 3/3. This is whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. This is also going to work with the 5 mana rocks that we have in the deck, as well as 2 other legendary non-creatures that we have in the deck.
And I think it's important to mention Joda Archmage Eternal. So Joda's in this. Also legendary. Mm-hmm. It costs 1 blue, red, and white. It's a 4/3 flying human wizard that says you may pay white, blue, black, red, green rather than pay the mana cost for your spells. That's cool. We've got a lot of expensive spells here, and you don't have to worry about having the right mana or enough. That Jin Cataxias cost 10. Actually, it only costs 5.
As long as you have one of each.
As long as I have one of each.
Which you definitely can do in this deck very easily.
Oh, easily. The mana pool, the mana base, the mana base is very good.
Yes. Now, speaking of legendary creature or legendary permanents matter draw cards, I think there is one creature in here that we both play in some of our decks. You as a commander.
Oh, let me talk about it.
Absolutely.
It's Niambi, Esteemed Speaker. It's a 2/1 human cleric with flash for white and a blue. When Niambi enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's mana value. Could be relevant. Mm-hmm. And then pay 1, a white and a blue, tap her, discard a legendary card, draw 2 cards. You got life gain, and you got card advantage.
Yeah, and I would even argue protection, because Niambi has flash, and you can bounce one of your Praters back to your hand.
And can be brought back with Tishar.
That's right.
We got so much synergy.
There's so many things. Now you have an entire deck built around Niambi.
I do.
And I have Niambi in my humans deck, and I think we both agree that this card just is really, really good for card draw specifically.
It really is.
Yeah. And then I know it's not random, because with Niambi you get to choose what cards you're discarding, but sometimes you just need to get Jin Cataxia.
But you're going to randomly draw 2. You don't know what the 2 are that you're going to draw.
That's true. Every time you draw, it's random.
So since we've got a lot of non-Praters, there are some strategies that we have while we're working to slow our opponents down with creatures like Thalia, Heretic Cathar, or even that Urabras, the Hidden that we mentioned. So the Prater isn't just a haste enabler. We're going to have our opponent's creatures enter the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, and having them enter tapped is just going to help us out with the speed of the game, right? And I guess that's on the flip side also what Urbrask is doing with the haste enabling.
Exactly.
It's helping us out in the speed of the game. So there are some legendary creatures that are also out here to help us ramp. So Rada, Heir to Keld, is literally a mana dork, if you did not know. So Rada, for a red and a green, you get a 2/2 that says whenever Rada, Heir to Keld attacks, you may add 2 red to your mana pool, or you can tap Rada to add a green to your mana pool.
I always forget that it has tap for the green, because I usually see people attacking to get the red.
Yeah, I only ran this in a budget deck once, but I did run it to tap it for green, because creatures that cost 2 that only tap for 1 don't cost a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I did that. But we also have Salvalla, Explorer Return. And I know you really like the Salvalla card too.
I do. So Salvalla Explorer Returned is a creature that has parlay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tap Salvalla. Each player is going to reveal the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed, you add green to your mana pool and you gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card. Salvalla is an Elf Scout 2/4 that costs 1, a green, and a white.
Can be brought back with Tishar.
Comes back with Tishar.
Yeah. Not only is this ramping you with mana, but it's also giving you some card advantage.
It feels good. I've said it before. I think this Salvalla makes people feel good because you're also giving them card draw.
And the important part is you get to see what they draw too, which is nice. It's nice to know what is in your opponent's hand. So I know before we kept mentioning Tishar and some of the combos, and we went over Linvala, Shield of Seagate, but I also wanted to mention Safi Ericstatter, which you run that combo in your humans deck with Safi, don't you? And Angel of Glorious Rebirth.
Angel of Glory's Rise.
Angel of Glory's
Safi
Rise.
Ericstatter,
yes. So Safi Ericstatter is a 2-mana human scout for green and a white. You get a 2/2 that says sacrifice Safi Ericstatter. When target creature is put into your graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield. So this is just going to be a really easy way to, keep a creature on the battlefield that normally is going to get destroyed. And then obviously Safi you can bring back with Tishar and start just comboing off.
Absolutely.
So now we need to talk about the rest of the deck. We went over all of the creatures. We went over some of the spells that we're going to put in there. So the rest of the deck, the rest of the 99, is building again into this randomness, having fun with your opponents, the whole Tibalt experience, if you will. And it all starts with Prater's Grasp. So Prater's Grasp, well, it fits the theme because literally it says Prater right there, right? So Prater's Grasp is a 3-mana sorcery for 1 black that says search target opponent's library for a card, then exile it face down. Then that player shuffles his or her library. You may look at that card and play that card as long as it remains exiled. So fantastic. Just steal a card from your opponent. Don't tell them what you stole. That way they're sweating the whole time. Take their Thassa's Oracle. You're not going to use it anyways. Don't worry about it. You're just taking it to take it from them.
If you're playing Thassa's Oracle in casual Magic, I too would take it. And I probably wouldn't cast.
I play it in casual.
Do you?
I do. I have Thassa's Oracle, Laboratory Maniac in my Sultai clones deck. It's very difficult to win that way. But
okay. So you're not Demonic Consultation.
I don't have Demonic Consultation in the deck.
This we appreciate.
Yes. No, I'm trying to draw with 12 copies of AC. I'm trying to draw my deck out.
Oh.
So
I like that.
It's a little different than that. But yeah, no, Praetor's Grasp is really cool. Take a win condition, take a Torment of Hailfire, take a Gray Merchant of Asphodel, something that's going to get you back into the game and allow you to keep randomly drawing and discard. Maybe you can get a Wheel of Fortune.
There's a card in here that I had never seen until we worked on putting this episode together, which is Corrupted Conscience. It's an aura for 3 blue, enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has infect. I mean, it fits.
It does. I mean, it's literally the Phyrexians stealing a creature, right? And this is Karn depicted on this card actually being corrupted by the Phyrexian oil in this Corrupted Conscience. So I do like this card. I actually did play it in my Auras deck where I was bouncing curses and stuff around to try to steal someone's creature with infect and kill them with it. I think it's a fantastic win condition. It doesn't give any bonuses or anything, and you can technically enchant your own creature with this. It doesn't say enchant creature and opponent control. So if you simply want to give infect to your Praetor, you can.
Do you want to talk about probably one of our favorite cards in the deck?
I don't
either. It's bad. Not good. No, it's very good.
There's a 4-mana enchantment in green that was printed in one of those Ravnica sets a couple of years ago.
One of those Ravnica sets.
It's called Guardian Project. It's an enchantment. It says whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. I mean, this card was literally made for Commander.
It was, and it's wonderful. And we're sad to this day that we didn't purchase them when they were 50 cents.
Yeah, a billion of them.
We were like hundreds of them to use.
It is technically, Guardian Project is very overshadowed by another enchantment also in this deck called Smothering Tithe. So it might have a little bit of a
but we did get
there.
2 solid enchantments from Ravnica Allegiance. Smothering Tithe being 3 and a white.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2 colorless. If they don't, you get a colorless treasure token that you can sack for 1 color of whatever you want.
I think the best 2 enchantments from this set are in this deck right here.
Those might be the only good enchantments from that set, to be fair. I
can't argue because I don't know.
There's that captivating audience.
Oh, captivating audience is pretty cool. I would not call it better, but it's cool.
No, but it's also very cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good if you can, and I think it's from Ravnica Allegiance.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was in the because I think the Rakdos was in Allegiance.
I mean, I totally knew it was. I know every card from Ravnica because I am an expert. It is my favorite plane.
But I do really like the wording on Guardian Project where it doesn't care if you are casting the spell, just when the creature is entering the battlefield, which helps out a lot with all the way that we're going to be cheating creatures onto the battlefield, which is actually in contrast to some of the cards we talked about before, like Joyra, Weatherlight Captain, and Reki, History of Kamigawa. Both of those do require you to cast those spells. Hopefully you're going to have Joda out there, though, and you're going to have to cast Wooburg to cast it. Maybe you're casting a 3-mana spell and just drawing some cards, but just be aware that Guardian Project is actually going to work a lot better for the card draw than those creatures.
So we also have a lot of artifact ramp here. The one thing to note, in the article, it does mention having a rule 0 discussion. You certainly are working with some faster mana here. You do have some Praters that, as we just casually talked about, these are thoughts that other people are having. So this deck is certainly one that you want to make sure that your opponents are going to have a full understanding of what you are bringing to the table. But we're running artifacts like Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, an Arcane Signet. So Mana Crypt being 0 mana, taps for 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you flip a coin. If you lose the flip, you take 3 damage. Soul Ring, it's pretty classic. I would say I put it in the majority of my decks. I have very few that I don't have it in.
Agreed.
I like it. And then Arcane Signet, a solid 2 mana rock, pay 2, tap it for any color.
Yeah, 2 mana command tower. How could you turn that down? There is also a lot of land ramp in here, but it's important to note, as Draco notes, that all of these can grab forests. And I have a bone to pick with Draco on this statement. So technically it's true, but technically it's not true. So 3 visits, Nature's Lore, Farseek, Skyshroud Claim, and Into the North can all grab land type forest. Not basic, land type forest, which allows you to grab all of your tri-lands and everything. Except for Farseek. Farseek specifically does not let you grab a forest, but you can grab a mountain swamp forest. But Farseek does not say the word forest anywhere on that card. Just putting that out there. If you play Farseek in your mono green deck, you're cheating.
You know, I'm sure it's happened.
It has. A lot. I've seen it on Commander Versus before.
I probably did it myself.
Yeah. It happens to even the people that play it for a living. So, you know, I'm just giving you a little bit of crap about it.
And then we have some removal here. Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Anguished Unmaking, Arcane Denial, and Counter Magic, Doomscar, and everyone's favorite, Cyclonic Rift.
That's what I've heard is everyone's favorite
Everyone
card.
Also, they love Jin Cataxias and Cyclonic Rift. And I think it's because everyone really loves blue.
It's true. And Counterspell. You forgot that one.
Oh, shoot. All right, and Counterspell.
Yeah, that's not in the deck, though.
Okay.
Only Arcane Denial is, which allows you to draw cards, which everyone hates. But yeah, no, a really cool package. It kind of reminds me of my Jeskai package where I only have like 2 or 3 pieces of removal in each color. So really cool to see a condensed package, very efficient removal here. But there's also some really, really good protection spells. Arguably, in my opinion, the best 2 self-protection spells in the game. Heroic Intervention, a 2 mana instant for green that says all permanents you control have hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And Teferi's Protection, a 3 mana white instant that allows you and all permanents you control to phase out. Your life total can't change, but other people can still win the game. That is one important thing to note about Teferi's Protection.
I've never seen it happen where I've been phased out and someone just cast a win the spell.
I'll be honest.
Or win the spell. Win the game spell.
I don't see a ton of people playing Teferi's Protection in CEDH for that reason. Like, because it does take you out of the game and you can no longer interact until your next turn. But obviously in casual pods, it's a you get removed. People can't touch you. We've seen on some commander episodes and stuff on YouTube and stuff where people can flash out Rhystic studies and stuff before they Teferi's Protection out. So that's the only permanent out, and all they're doing is drawing cards while waiting for their next turn to come up. Teferi's Protection, amazing.
So this was the deck. Now, we wanted to certainly look and see if we had any suggestions we could add, and we had a few
for sure. I think first and foremost, as soon as they print new Praters, you got to print the new Praters.
And we're going to be getting some. We know that in the story, Ashiok, I believe the story was that Ashiok learned of the Phyrexians. And so I assume in the next year or two, we are going to learn about some more Praters.
Yeah, because we know Vorinclex came to Kaldheim.
And Vorinclex changed a little bit.
Yeah, no flesh.
So maybe the others will change a little bit. That was obviously Tibalt took him through a planar bridge, but who knows?
So what I would suggest here, I see Joda in this deck, and I really like the combination of Joda and Morphon the Boundless.
Morphon's a Prater.
Morphon is a Prater, technically, which is pretty cool.
Morphon's everything.
So Morphon is a 7-mana colorless creature that actually has color identity of Wooburg. You name a creature type when Morphon enters the battlefield. Creatures of the chosen type that you control get +1/+1, and they cost Wooburg less to cast. Joda allows you to alternately cast stuff for Wooburg. So in combination with Morphon and Joda, you're going to be casting stuff for 0. I understand this is not a 26 Prater deck. This is a 6 Prater deck with other legendary creatures. But at the same time, in combination with a card like Conflux, which is an 8-mana sorcery for 3 and Wooburg, you get to search your library for 1 card of each color and put it into your hand. So you can find all 5 of the 6 Praters, put them in your hand. If you have Morphon and Joda out, Morphon naming Praters, you're going to be able to cast all 5 for free. And I kind of like that for this deck.
Yeah, that's really cool. The first card that I have is Atlapalani Nest Tender. It seems really fun here. So Atlapalani, a legendary human. It costs 1, a red, green, and white. Tap 2, make an egg creature token with Defender. Whenever an egg dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature. Put that card onto the battlefield. So it feels like it fits with the random theme. So when the egg dies, you get one of your creatures randomly out to the battlefield. I like it. Yeah. I think it fits really well here.
It works right on curve as the same as the Prismatic Bridge too. 4 mana for Atlapalani. Next turn, you're making an egg. Yeah. Easy. DracoLucian, direct question to you. Why aren't you playing Gamble in this deck?
Oh, Gamble. That is random.
Yes. Gamble is a 1 red sorcery. So search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, discard a card at random. Not only does this allow you to go find Tibalt right away to show off Tibalt is really the main part of your deck, but it does discard a card at random, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I like the option of Old Stick Fingers here. So we're looking to fill the graveyard. Old Stick Fingers costs X and then black and green. When you cast a spell, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards. Put all creature cards revealed this way into your graveyard, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. We have a word random again. And then Old Stick Fingers' power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. So we're looking to cheat them back out anyway. Yeah. Why not throw a few in there? And if it's a late game and you really have a lot in your graveyard, you could make that X huge.
Yeah.
Get rid of all your creatures from your deck. Bring them all back.
I know I was struggling to find something to help self-mill in Legendary Creature. I'm really glad that you found that because I was thinking about Hermit Druid myself, a non-legendary version to just mill a ton of cards.
And it can also be reanimated by Tashar because its mana value is only 2.
Oh, perfect.
And if you have creature in the graveyard, it doesn't, even though it's star, if it's coming back and there's still creatures there, it does come back.
Yeah. It does have the power and toughness in the graveyard. It doesn't. Yeah, but it's still 2 CMC.
It's still 2
or 2 mana value.
2 mana value.
Yeah, I've been messing up on that a lot today. One card I really like playing in my Legendary Humans deck for the reanimation purpose. It's going to help with some discard too. Is Chainer Nightmare Adept. So this is the Rakdos Chainer that was printed in the Anji Falconwrath precon. Along with Modern Horizons 2 reprint. So Chainer is a 4-mana 3/2 human minion for 2 black and a red. You can discard a card and you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn, activate only once each turn. And you have whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn. So this is creatures coming off of your Prismatic Bridge, being reanimated. Maybe it's coming off of your Atlapalani. just not if you cast it from your hand. So you can discard it and then cast it from your graveyard. And so this is a way to kind of help you with some haste enabling, some reanimation, some discard. I think it's not going to add to the randomness of the deck, but it's going to add to the consistency of the deck.
Yeah. Another option here, I kind of stuck with that Tashar thought here. So Kinnan Bonder Prodigy fits. It's a 2/2 human druid for green and a blue. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of that type to your mana that it could produce to your mana pool. Looking at the deck, and if I did my math right, I think there are 7 non-land permanents, the commander being 1, which I think is relevant. So Esika does tap for green mana if you end up playing it on the Esika side and not on the Prismatic Bridge side. But it also has pay 5, a green and a blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature from among them onto the battlefield. The rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. Looking at the creatures, it's over half of them are there's quite a few humans, but over half could get hit and just put onto the battlefield if you have open mana to use.
Yeah. And they're going to have abilities themselves when they come out. Hopefully you hit Garuda and then you get like boom, boom,
You
boom,
can do
boom,
this
boom.
at end of turn too, so you don't even need to do it on your turns. You can hit a creature at someone's end step.
That's fantastic.
I like that a lot. And it comes back with Tashar again.
One creature that we didn't actually mention that I want to mention real quick here is Wrath Caption Ship's Mage. It's a 4 mana 3/3, 2 white and a blue that does go into the whole historic and legendary creatures theme, allowing you to cast historic spells with flash. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because of this legendary sorcery that I think belongs in this deck. Since we already saw Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, we know that Draco is willing to play legendary sorcery, so why not a legendary board wipe called Urza's Ruinous Blast? So Urza's Ruinous Blast is a legendary sorcery that says exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. Done. I mean, you're going to have to give up your Smothering Tithe, you're going to have to give up your Guardian Project, but you're going to keep every single creature, and your opponents probably will only keep 1 most of the time. And it's their commander. But you're going to be able to cast this at instant speed if you have Wrath Caption out, which is pretty cool.
Wait. Primeval's Glorious Rebirth?
No, Urza's Ruinous Blast.
Ruinous Blast.
But you know what? We should talk about Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, because Primeval's Glorious Rebirth is, I mean, it's kind of crazy. You had this in your Planeswalker deck, right?
Yeah, so I played this in my Jodah Archmage Eternal deck. So Primeval's Glorious Rebirth costs 5 white and a black. It is a legendary sorcery. So again, you can only cast it if you control a legendary creature or a planeswalker. It says return all legendary permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield.
That seems pretty good in a legendary creature matters deck to return all of them to the battlefield at the exact same time.
100%.
Yeah. So one thing that would actually make this even better would be your Haste Enablers. And we know that Urabrask itself is a Haste Enabler, but I think that this deck could go a lot further if it had a few more Haste Enablers. So we talk about them a little bit before. Rhythm of the Wild, 1 a red and a green for an enchantment that's going to allow your creatures to enter with either +1/+1 counters or haste via the riot mechanic. Or there's also Anger. Anger is a 4 mana incarnation. I believe it is. That is a creature that is when it's in your graveyard, as long as you control a mountain, creatures you control have haste. There are 7 mountains in the deck, despite only having 1 basic mountain in the deck. Anger does not care about basics. It is a non-legendary creature, so it doesn't totally fit the bill, but there are a few other options you can do. Garner the Blood Flame is going to help you with some graveyard stuff and haste. Perforos Bronze-Blooded is going to help you cheat stuff out and then sacrifice them to your graveyard. Also gives haste. Samut Voice of Dissent. Not really sure the untapping is going to be relevant, so maybe that's not right. Dragon Lord Kolaghan. Definitely the second ability isn't. It cares about whether people cast the same spell as something that's in their graveyard, which isn't going to be relevant in Commander. And Maelstrom Wanderer, I actually like, I think, the most out of all of these Haste Enablers. I do believe the Cascade mechanic is fitting into this random theme that we have. And Maelstrom Wanderer is going to give haste to all of your creatures. So just a few options for some Haste Enablers I think would help the speed of the deck a little bit.
Yeah. This was a lot of fun.
This was
a good deck. This was a great deck. Draco, thank you so much for submitting this, and thank you so much for supporting us and our show.
Yeah, you're the best. One of the best. You're all the best.
Everyone's.
I don't want to discriminate.
They're all.
You're all the best.
Well, we want to thank you all for listening. If you would like to contact me directly, I'm on Twitter at Andy Flory.
And I'm on Twitter at Wormcoil Engine. And of course, we want to give a special thanks to Ryan, our producer and editor. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do. And Chris Wolf, who handles all of our graphic design, thank you for everything that you do. And to all you listeners out there, thanks for listening.
May all your games be random.
Oh, they will. And we'll talk to you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.